Yep. And all that leads to, like with what we're doing now, when I talk to CEOs of companies, they're like you and they're like me.
One more. So we agree on that. Let me ask you about the Hollywood sign and $10,000. Tell me that story.
Well, we were one of the first to use lasers when Star Wars came out. We were doing corporate shows at the time, introducing swimsuits and shingles and that kind of thing.
Now, what was the business that you had?
It was back in the day. One of them I had was we would produce basically, Jerry, 20-minute commercials about product, like I say, shingles or whatever, music in the background and some narrator with their gonads in their throat. These new braced shingles are the greatest, blah, blah. So on one trade show, I used a laser and we were so broke. I mean, Jerry, we were spectacularly broke, right? And my phone rings and this guy says, "Are you the ones with the lasers?" I thought, I didn't have any lasers. I borrowed the lasers, but I said, "Sure, that's us. We're the ones."
You just
and
say
he said,
yes.
"Well, we just got to, yes."
That's
and
right.
he said, "We just got a contract to do the searchlights for the reopening of the Hollywood sign." And I was thinking, what could be better than lasers? And I, of course, answered, "Nothing I can think of." That'd be great. So they hired us. And so I went to laser company. CBS was going to cover this live, right? And I went to laser company and borrowed a couple lasers. And Jerry, I promised him a screen credit. I had no authority to promise them anything. And they were a little nervous because the lasers had tubes in them that each cost $5,000. And if the lasers got too hot or too cold, they were water cooled, they'd blow up. But hey, who's worried, right? So the night of the big show comes, and it was live, being entertained by the lead entertainer was a woman called Lola Falana. Now I never met her, but you know who she is.
That dates
How
you.
could you not? Oh, how could you not love that woman though? She won part of the New York Mets in a baccarat game, and later sold it for $14 million. I've always loved her, and I don't even know her. So anyway, she did her entertainment, and our moment to fire off the lasers comes. And Jerry has started to sleet. Now it doesn't sleet in Southern California, not even up on Mount Lee where the sign is. It was sleeting that night. So we fired up the first laser and sleet was dropping on it. It blew up instantly. And so Gloria and I, we hadn't been married that long. So we're running around and we put umbrellas over the other laser and fired it up, and we got a couple of beams, and that one blew up. And so Gloria and I are looking out over Hollywood and Santa Monica, and it was a beautiful sight. But I said, "Well, Gloria, we just tanked in front of 30 million people." And the next day, but I said we get paid. So the next day, I call our employer, and I said, "Hey, I want to come down and pick up our check." And the guy on the other end of the line starts to laugh, and he says, "Well, good luck with that. They just declared bankruptcy." So I'm sitting at my desk, and I don't know if I was weeping. Probably, I had my head in my hands.
Right.
And Gloria comes in and she shakes my elbow and she says, "You have got to see this." And here in the LA Times is a big review about us. Spectacular laser show beaming across Mount Hood, blah, blah. And our lasers had blown up, but our bankrupt employer had searchlights there. And what had happened when it started to sleet, all the reporters went into the open bar and got hammered. So they just took a picture of the searchlights, thought they were lasers. It was the best review we ever got, Jerry. And I made a ton of money off it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you make your own way. You make your own luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
We lost 10 grand that night, and I cannot tell you how we paid that back. I honestly don't remember, but we did.
The part I love about this conversation, again, coming into the podcast, it was about your stories. And like all things, once they're fleshed out a little bit, the thing that I appreciate the most and that I've got the most out of this conversation, Wayne, is how all of your stories are, we had nothing. We lived with nothing. We made it with nothing, right? Where there was no money for lasers. We were almost out of business. We tried this business and it didn't work. The money dried up. It's never easy. It's right. It's just never, it's always a struggle until it's not.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
Yes, exactly right.
Right.
Bravo. Yes. Yes.
Does the struggle ever end for you?
You're right. Really, it doesn't really. And part of the reason it doesn't is that you're driven to do other stuff.
Yeah.
Right. It as it turned out, the end of all of this and the book and everything, I was saying to Gloria one day, I can't complain, but still you always want, I got my beady eye set on a new candy apple red Tesla.
Right.
Damn, Jerry, they're spendy,
Yep.
And so once again, I get a call from an old crony of mine and said, hey, I'm helping businesses position themselves to sell themselves. And you went through that. You want to help? Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course I do.
Can I buy a Tesla?
So, yeah, exactly. So now here in Colorado, we work with companies and help them do it. And when they sell themselves, we get a piece of the swag.
Right.
And so that would have never happened without, you could do that.
Yeah, sure.
Without your background, no way. So everything you do contributes to stuff.
Everything that you do that may not be directly connected to the thing that you're trying to do, right? So much of who I am comes from, I got stabbed with a screwdriver. I stole food to eat as a kid. I got mugged multiple times. I had my nose broken. I've had epiphanies in the middle of freeways. I mean, I've got a lifetime of stories. None of them are specifically about what made me successful necessarily, right? The soup and nuts to how to start a business and how to buy one and how to sell one and how to run one. But I would have never had the wherewithal had I not had to go to work when I got my first job at 11 years old, Wayne, paying taxes. I paid taxes as an 11-year-old washing dishes, if you could believe that. I've never not had a job. I've never not had a job since. I've never been out of work. I've never taken a dime of government money because I was self-sufficient coming from this background that I had. And so that plays a large part, and that's the hardest part I find to teach, to illustrate, is the benefit I get from this nebulous thing that's easy to hear but hard to understand that's helped me get where I am.
Yep. And all that leads to, like with what we're doing now, when I talk to CEOs of companies, they're like you and they're like me.
Yeah.
So, there's a rapport and an instant trust, and you can't get that if you don't have a certain amount of depth. You just can't.
I agree.